outstanding economy, refinement, and performance. Those claims have been proved by Fiesta, Escort, and Orion. The introduction of Ford's new 1.6 diesel engine adds a whole new dimension to those claims. A dimension summed up by 3 words: quick, quiet, and clean. Ford's 1.6D is a major breakthrough in diesel technology. At a constant 56 miles per hour, the Fiesta, Escort, and Orion can all achieve 70 miles per gallon. This is the first time that any car with an engine this size has been capable of reaching such remarkable economy levels. And that's not all. The 1.6D achieves on the urban cycle in Fiesta 56.5, in Escort 51.4, and in Orion 51.4 miles per gallon. Now, you may think that the only way to duplicate these figures yourself is to drive with a cushion under the accelerator pedal, but that's not the case. You see, one of the unique things about diesel engines, and this one in particular, is that unlike a petrol engine, it develops more torque or pulling power at lower engine speeds. In fact, while the 1.6D delivers maximum power at 4,800 revs per minute, it delivers maximum torque at only 3,000 revs per minute. Now, I've been driving this car for only a few hours, and I very quickly found I became used to having more power at lower engine speeds. It means that revving through the gears is pointless because I get the same performance at lower revs, but with that amazing fuel economy. The gears, well, I find in town traffic, I'm in 3rd and 4th more often than if I had a petrol engine under the bonnet. All in all, it's most impressive. And I think that most people sitting here behind the wheel and not having seen the badge on the back wouldn't know that this, in fact, is a diesel engine car, which is an amazing claim when you think what diesels used to be like. Sluggish and boring is the phrase that comes to mind. Well, let's dispose of that myth right away. With its sustained and even torque characteristics and standard 5-speed gearbox, Ford's sparkling new 1.6 diesel is superbly responsive and flexible to drive. And the way the Ford's designers set up the new diesel's fuel injection system gives it all the feel of a petrol engine car. Now, you may think this all sounds too good to be true, but believe me, it isn't. Particularly if you ask the question, what's the difference between petrol and diesel engines anyway? The most obvious difference is in the fuel itself. Gallon for gallon, diesel contains about 10% more power than petrol, and the way fuel is burnt is different. In a petrol engine, air and fuel are mixed in the carburetor, drawn into the cylinder, compressed to about 1/9 of the volume, and ignited by a spark from the spark plug. In a diesel engine, only air is drawn into the cylinder. This is compressed to about 1/20th of its volume, which makes the temperature of the air rise to around 500 degrees. At this point, a carefully metered quantity of fuel is injected, and the temperature of the air makes it ignite. This burning process is more efficient. The explosion delivers more power, and the exhaust gases are much cleaner. But clearly, all diesels can claim the virtue of economy. So what's so special about Ford's 1.6 diesel? The first thing that's special about Ford's 1.6 diesel is this: a combination of performance and economy figures that have never been seen before. The second thing that makes the 1.6D special is that unlike many other diesel engines on the market, it is not an adaptation or dieselization of an existing petrol engine. And the other thing that's special about this new engine is this: Ford's new diesel engine plant at Dagenham. This multi-million-pound development embodies all the latest techniques of automatic assembly, robotics, and computer control. So if you thought that diesel engines are only made by specialist diesel manufacturers, then think again. As well as the 1.6D, this plant produces the 90 to 150 series diesel engine for the Ford Cargo, as well as diesel engines for the Ford Transit. That means that this plant is destined to become one of the largest diesel engine factories in Europe. By starting with an all-new design concept, Ford engineers were able to deliver an engine with superb economy and power levels, but none of the drawbacks associated with traditional diesel engines, which even now a lot of people think of as noisy. Well, on the 1.6D, the computer-designed engine block, heavily ribbed for greater rigidity, is designed to run quietly. The internal construction of the engine and the design of the injection pump itself keeps the sound level low, even during cold starting. Vibration has been minimized by using a 5-bearing crankshaft with 8 counterbalance weights instead of the usual 4, and a specially tuned exhaust system. And if that isn't enough, the engine is carried on vibration-damping hydraulic mountings, and there are extra layers of high-efficiency soundproofing material. So, if you feel like asking the question, but surely all diesels are noisy, then this is the place to prove to yourself that Ford's new 1.6D really is both smooth and quiet. Naturally, with something as new as this, the question that's bound to be asked is, okay, this new light diesel is just that, new. Has it been properly tested? Seldom has any engine from any manufacturer undergone such rigorous testing. 225 prototype engines were subjected to more than 27,000 hours of dynamometer and in-vehicle trials. 10 of those engines were run to 750 hours, stripped, found to be in excellent working order, rebuilt with the original parts and put back on test. To put all that in perspective, the general standard for petrol engines on dynamometer durability testing is less than half that, 300 hours. During production, each engine is hot tested under computer control for 12 minutes. And in addition, 8% of all engines receive a further rigorous 20-minute dynamometer test under load, which is also computer controlled. That means that the 1.6D needs to make fewer visits here to the service bay than many other diesel engine cars. Standard services are every 12,000 miles, with oil and oil filter changes every 6,000. If that rings a bell, it should. They're the same service intervals for equivalent petrol engine models. The cost of extra cover warranty is the same too. So it's not true to think that diesel engines always require more servicing than petrol engines. It's also not true to imagine that diesels put out lots of black smoke. Any internal combustion engine will smoke if it's badly maintained or out of tune. But it's much easier to keep a diesel engine in tune because it has no plugs, points, ignition leads, coil, or distributor. And remember, because diesels operate at a much higher compression ratio, the construction of the engine itself is much more heavy-duty. All of these factors have contributed to the diesel's reputation for durability. But to return to the question of black smoke, without looking at the badges on the back, there really is no way of telling from the exhaust which is the 1.6 diesel and which is the 1.6 petrol engine. Another thing you'll hardly notice is the way they start. It used to be that diesels are difficult to start, particularly on cold mornings. The 1.6D is just as easy to start as the petrol version. High-speed glow plugs warm the air in the cylinders and keep glowing for around 20 seconds after starter. So, you just turn the key and off we go. There really is no doubt that the diesel is the engine of the future. Since the 1970s, sales of diesels have been increasing steadily. And by the end of the decade, it's estimated that 10% of new cars registered in Britain will be diesel-powered. The oil companies, too, are recognizing this growth. Companies like Shell will be increasing the number of diesel pumps available to the private motorist. That tank of fuel has cost me about £1.20 less than it would have been for petrol. In effect, I've got the best part of a gallon free. And on top of that, depending where and how I drive, that tank full of diesel gives me up to 170 miles of extra motoring for free as well. There is, of course, one other major difference between this diesel Orion and its petrol equivalent: price. As we all know, diesels cost more to buy, don't they? But then, as we've seen, you do get more for your money. This new engine will give thousands and thousands of miles of reliable, trouble-free performance. Servicing costs are low, and fuel savings alone can contribute up to a 30% reduction in overall running costs. Put all that with a 5-speed gearbox and the high level of specification and comfort of the Fiesta, Escort, and Orion, and it really does give the lie to the idea that diesel engine models are only available in a basic, primitive specification. Fiesta, Escort, and Orion have, rightly, established themselves at the top of the new car market. And indeed, Escort is the top-selling car in the UK. The 1.6T versions of these cars are certain to share in that success, not least because the 1.6T, in effect, extends the useful life of the car. Ford's new 1.6 diesel really is an investment which will pay off handsomely for years to come. An investment in totally engineered economy with performance.